Welcome to my channel. Today, we're exploring Stellar Defiance, a sci-fi journey where humanity stands strong and defies the odds across the galaxy. Dive into epic starship battles, powerful tech, and the resilience that makes us unstoppable in a universe full of challenges. If you're ready for a thrill-packed adventure in deep space, hit subscribe and let's get started. Humanity has long been a species driven by a profound need to connect, to communicate, and, most importantly, to persuade. The art of persuasion, the ability to shape thoughts, change minds, and inspire actions, has been woven into the fabric of human history since the earliest civilizations. From the ancient rhetoric of Greek philosophers to the political speeches of modern leaders, the art of persuasion has played a pivotal role in shaping the destiny of nations, movements, and individuals. But as humanity embarked on its journey into the stars, the stakes of persuasion grew far more complex. It was no longer about convincing neighbors or even distant allies on Earth. It was about opening doors to interstellar alliances, forging relationships with species whose very existence and worldview were often radically different from our own. When humanity first reached beyond Earth, venturing into the vast expanse of space, the art of persuasion was tested in ways no one had imagined. Contact with alien species was inevitable, but the manner in which these first encounters played out would shape the future of human civilization and the fate of the galaxy itself. What might seem like an insurmountable obstacle to forming alliances, such as vast cultural differences, linguistic barriers, or even differing concepts of morality and existence, became opportunities for humans to deploy their remarkable gift for persuasion. Over time, humanity's ability to influence, negotiate, and convince became a key factor in shaping the galaxy's political and social landscape. The first encounters with alien species were often filled with confusion, misunderstanding, and the kind of tension that arises when two very different worlds collide. The initial reaction of many alien species was one of skepticism, even fear. Humanity, with its relatively primitive technology and combative history, was not immediately seen as a trustworthy partner. Some species viewed humans as a potential threat, others as curious but insignificant, while still others were deeply suspicious of the human propensity for violence. The notion that humans could form alliances with these species, alliances that could lead to cooperation and mutual benefit, seemed at first impossible. The very idea of negotiating with beings whose physical forms, thought processes, and even motivations were so alien to human experience appeared to be an insurmountable challenge. But it was precisely in this environment of distrust and uncertainty that humanity's art of persuasion began to shine. Humans, in their earliest attempts at diplomacy, relied on a blend of age-old techniques and innovative approaches that spoke to the heart of alien civilizations. One of the first breakthroughs was recognizing that persuasion was not merely about logical argumentation or forceful rhetoric. It was about understanding empathy and finding common ground where none seemed to exist. Rather than imposing human values or attempting to convert alien species to human ideals, humanity's diplomats and negotiators began to truly listen to what the alien species had to say. This simple act of listening, of acknowledging the existence and validity of another species' worldview, was a cornerstone in building trust. The process was slow and often fraught with setbacks. Early attempts at persuasion were met with suspicion, or worse, outright hostility. However, each encounter served as a learning experience, a chance for humans to refine their approach, to understand what truly motivated other species, and to find ways to speak to their concerns and desires. Through these first painful lessons, humanity began to craft an approach that was not only based on communication, but also on mutual respect. One of the key elements of this new form of persuasion was the understanding that different species had different ways of perceiving the universe. Where humans often relied on logic, reason, and spoken language to make their arguments, many alien species had entirely different methods of communication. Some used pheromones, others relied on telepathy, and still others communicated through visual patterns or complex biochemical signals. Early human negotiators quickly realized that to persuade effectively, they would need to transcend their traditional ways of speaking and learn to communicate in ways that resonated with alien species. For example, humans who encountered the telepathic Tharno species discovered that their method of persuasion required not just words, but shared emotional experiences. By entering into a mutual telepathic bond, humans could connect with the Tharno on a deeply personal level, sharing emotions and thoughts in a way that transcended language. Similarly, humanity's efforts to persuade the Esrake, a species whose society was built around a complex system of color-based communication, involved learning the nuances of Esrak color patterns. Human diplomats spent years studying how colors represented emotions, concepts, and even entire philosophical systems. Once humans understood the language of color, they were able to craft persuasive arguments that were not just logical, but visually stunning, presenting their ideas in a way that spoke to the Esrak's deep sense of beauty and harmony. The result was a diplomatic breakthrough that led to an unprecedented alliance, one that had seemed impossible in the early days of human exploration. At the same time, humans discovered that persuasion was not just about speaking the language of another species, it was also about understanding their culture, history, and worldview. In some cases, this meant engaging with species whose motivations were completely different from humanity's own. For instance, the Vordar, a species whose society was structured around a complex system of honor and social standing, required a different approach. As humanity's reputation for diplomacy spread across the galaxy, more and more species began to seek alliances with Earth, drawn not just by the promise of trade or technology, but by the human ability to form connections. The art of persuasion, once seen as a simple tool for negotiation, began to take on a much deeper significance. One of the most remarkable aspects of humanity's art of persuasion was its ability to adapt to different circumstances. As human civilization expanded, so too did the diversity of alien species with whom they engaged. No two species were exactly alike, and the challenges of persuasion grew more complex as new forms of life and new societal structures emerged.